sin tax. It's not just something in grammar. It is the kind of tax levied against things that are considered sins, or, for example, alcohol and cigarettes. Now, in this case, there's a new sin tax that's going into effect in Australia that will bring the price of cigarettes up to $40 a pack in Australia. So let's go to this. Smokers will soon be slugged $40 for a packet of cigarettes. The excise tax will be increased by 12.5% each year to 2020. The Senate sparked calls for a rethink of Australia's ban on nicotine e-cigarettes, with Liberal backbencher James Patterson arguing the healthy alternative should be available. So the prices are getting so high, e-cigarettes are illegal there. They're saying, like, maybe we should open it up to be legal, because $40 is a whole lot to pay for cigarettes.
Is that for one pack?
For one pack is what it said. $40, according to news.com.au, which is like, oh, dang. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Well, I get that, yes, smoking is definitely detrimental to health.
Yes.
But is this aimed at stopping kids from smoking, or is this aimed at punishing lifelong smokers?
The idea of this, again, right, on paper, any sort of movement that you want to try and rid the world from cigarettes, I don't think this is a method in doing it. I think that if anyone, but the people that, again, if you're aimed at those that are chain smokers, they're going to find another way to buy these cigarettes. A black market is already forming. I know that there is consistent smokers who go between countries and are able to take larger packs of cigarettes. I know that people, when they go through Europe, a lot of people in the United Kingdom, if they travel to Spain or they travel across Europe, it is quite a lot cheaper. And again, a lot of the time it's tax deductible, especially if they buy it in the airports. That's where you'll see people buy large packs of cigarettes. There will be ways to find cigarettes for cheaper. It's not going to stop. Again, you need to understand that nicotine is an addiction. And when you are addicted to something, you're going to find a way to do it. What you might pose when you start to have it being $40 is a black market grown even larger. So it's not necessarily the step I would take. I don't think, I mean, we've seen how prohibition worked out. We've seen what happens when you try to make something that is easily acquirable harder to obtain, is that it starts to cause a lot more problems than you understand. But as you mentioned at the start, the one thing that should be taken in Australia is legalizing nicotine. Like, if you're going to have this this method put forward to try and reduce cigarettes, the key to try and changing it is through education. Try to educate those that perhaps are already addicted to cigarettes early on, that there's different ways you can get a nicotine intake that is perhaps more cleaner nicotine, if it's going to be through vaping, if it's going to be through e-cigarettes. These are things that Australia have been as open yet collectively, which I think could change a few perceptions.
That's a good point. I mean, people who want nicotine are going to get it no matter what.
Yep.
So all you're doing is making the situation much, much worse. And perhaps that's a smarter alternative.
Yeah, it's in 6 million people in the European Union, 6 million people in the EU have used e-cigarettes to quit smoking. Now, again, there's going to be studies that will come out. I bet my bottom dollar a couple of years where they're going to be like, well, e-cigarettes just as bad, blah. Like, there's going to be other studies.
They're already there.
And they're probably already paid for by the same people that paid the sugar companies. You know what I mean? It's the same thing that's going to happen is when people are trying to make money from their latest product, there will be repercussions. But as far as cigarettes go, I'm going to take it at face value that they're not good for you. They never have been good for you. And I think the key to doing so is to tackling the young. Like, we see these adverts that consistently are on our TVs from the company
children.
Truth, I believe, where it's like they try to make it hip. They're actually relating one video to cats, which is like the smartest advertising. Like, there's one thing that you watch more on YouTube than the Young Turks, hopefully, is cat videos. So why not make a video about how you're killing cats? Because secondhand smoke notoriously can kill your pets. So why not target that as well to try and make a change?
A lot of the people who've decided to smoke are aware of the health hazards and have made that decision anyway. So I don't see how this would actually be effective with that in mind.
So, yeah, let's look at the last graphic, 22. Here in the U.S., here's our statistics per pack. And I got this from Tobacco Free Kids, which is an organization that tries to get kids to stop smoking and educate people. Here it is in the United States. The average cost per pack is $6.01. The estimated loss in productivity and health cost, which seems like the one thing that would spur us to raise the taxes and try to get money to offset any financial costs of it, is $19.16 in lost productivity and health costs. States, so there's a federal tax and a state tax. The average state tax is $1.65. If you're a state that is a major tobacco producing state, the tax is 48.5 cents. If you're in a different state, the average tax is about $1.80. The highest state tax is New York with $4.35. It's like $16 a pack to buy cigarettes in New York. And the lowest tax is Missouri, which is a paltry 17 cents. And then Australia in 2014, $16 per pack. The cheapest that I could find online, according to International Business Times, worldwide. Pakistan, 98 cents per pack.
Wow.
98 cents.
And in Australia, I believe that cigarettes are already one of the highest tax products that are there. So there is some sort of push towards hitting the purse strings, right? And there's going to be even more, like, further repercussions that you have to wrap your head around. Like, what about if you're in a low-income family that the urge to buy cigarettes starts to hinder family distribution of wealth, where people are starting not to eat because they have to try and obtain that $40 a week to try and hit cigarettes. And again, there's going to be those out there like, well, just quit. Are we going to have this discussion? Like, do we need to understand that when it becomes addictive, that means it's an addiction. You have to find ways to tackle that addiction.
If I'm the government, it makes sense to put a tax on it, especially if, like, demand is inelastic because people are addicted to it.
Well, then also if it reflects into, like, public health costs as well. That's another factor, but it's just, this is not the most effective medium of getting it done.
Yeah, and Australia, I respect Australia because they just kind of step up and go like, we're doing this now, yeah? If you look at their actions on guns, they were just like, we had a mass shooting and let's just get rid of them, and it's worked. This seems like they're just as aggressive.
You can't, they're very proactive. I mean, again, huge fan of the way that they tackle certain issues. I just think that if they have case studies in front of them, like, again, I don't think e-cigarettes and vaping, I mean, it's going to cause the weird vape trend to go over there, and you may get, like, new trends of people vaping in all different angles in Australia. I'm trying to save you guys from that. But if there is studies there that are talking about in the UK, 1.3 million ex-smokers are using an e-cigarette now, because a lot of the time, psychologically, it's just having the cigarette in your hand. There's studies there that the e-cigarette itself helps with trying to urge those urges that you have, calm those urges. So that could be a method in taking a step in that direction. I just think that $40 a cigarette, it's gonna hit the purse strings. It's gonna form a black market before I think you start to see any real benefit from it.
That is like one of the central arguments against a sin tax, is that it creates a black market.
Yeah. You get hours of more content if you're a TYT member.
Somebody go get a six-pack.
And let's all enjoy it together. TYTnetwork.com/join.